Apologize everybody for the technology burp in particular. One thing that happens with live programs is sometimes the technology seems to miss out on us in particular. So we're gonna pick up where we left off. Okay, right back with our second exposition when it comes to dealing with our Sunday school lesson. Okay, second part is the responsibilities of a friend in 1 Samuel 19, 2 to 5. Okay, the responsibilities of a friend. 1 Samuel 19, 2 to 5. Okay. This is what happens right here. And I'm going to read again from these three second, third, fourth, and fifth verse, those four verses. New and Revised Standard Version. Jonathan told David, my father Saul is trying to kill you. Therefore, be on guard tomorrow morning. Stay in a secret place and hide yourself. And it says, I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where you are, and I will speak to my father about you. If I learn anything, I will tell you. Jonathan spoke well of David to his father, saying, Father Saul, saying to him, the king should not sin against his servant David, because he has not sinned against you, and because his deeds have been of good service to you. For he took his life in his hands when he attacked the Philistine. And the Lord brought about a great victory for all Israel. You saw it and rejoiced. Why then will you sin against an innocent person by killing David? All right, let's go back to this second verse. The responsibilities of a friend. Look at what it says here. Jonathan told David, my father Saul is trying to kill you. So in this particular verse, what you're going to see is that Saul is doing whatever he can. Is one of the things that you want to see here is the fact that and I'm going to put this back up on the screen so you can make sure to see it again and make sure that you see what I'm talking about here. All right. Jonathan told David, my father Saul is trying to kill you. Again, the key here is to understand that Jonathan is on David's side, not on his father Saul's side. Okay. He's actually doing everything he can to warn David about the impending doom that his father Saul plans on coming him this way. And that's what friends do. They help each other by saving each other's lives like that. Okay. And he continues to tell them, not only does he here says that he warns them and tells them what he needs to do in response to that. Therefore, be on guard tomorrow morning. Stay in a secret place and hide yourself. Okay? That's what friends do. Friends help out each other that way, brothers and sisters, by protecting them. Okay? You know that you have a friend when they protect them. See, and I want you to remember something. Jonathan could have gotten into tremendous problems with this. Okay, he could have gotten himself into a lot of trouble because of this. There's not a whole lot he could have done except get himself almost killed in exchange for helping David out. What was he going to get? Saul found out. Saul might have put his own son to death. But he really liked David. And see, let me tell you something about being a friend. Oftentimes we don't choose our friends as much as we need to. People just like us. Okay, there's something about us that they just find wonderful. Okay, they just want to be with us. They just want to be in a position with us where they just find us to be someone they want to be around. And we need to appreciate people like that. And Jonathan just liked David. He just found him that he was okay. He didn't have anything against the guy. In fact, like I said, the fellow was a delight to him. He was a nice fellow, and therefore he wanted to help him out to a point where he was going to warn him about his father Saul trying to kill him, and he was going to tell him what to do so that he could avoid him. So he went to the whole kit and caboodle when it comes to that. But there's a little bit more here. There's more that we want to say about this particular part. If you keep on going to verse number 3, it says, I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where you are, and I will speak to my father about you. If I learn anything, I will tell you. Okay? And it continues on here because I want you to hear this whole thing. Jonathan spoke well of David to his father, saying to him, the king should not sin against his servant David, because he has not sinned against you, and because his deeds have been a good service to you. Now, what does that mean? It means that Jonathan not only was protecting David by warning him and telling him to go protect himself by hiding in a secret place, but Jonathan also was going to be proactive with his dad. Okay, he was going to be proactive in the extent that he was going to say and try to be diplomatic. It wasn't just about warning him about things so that Saul wouldn't kill him, but it was also about seeing if he could do something about Saul's heart, changing what he does, and changing his mindset so that he can explain, you know what, Dad, this guy's okay. He hasn't done anything to you. He's innocent. Not only that, but what he's done has been positive for everybody around, for you, for me, for the kingdom, for your efforts. He doesn't deserve to die. That's what friends do. They go to bat for you. That's how friends intervene. They speak up for you when things are in those situations. And that's what Jonathan did with David. He spoke up for him. My rhetorical question to you is, do you speak up for your friends? All right. Because if you're not speaking up for your friends, can you truly say that you're a friend? And how about others? Those people who you call friends, do they speak up for you? Because if they don't speak up for you, can you call them your friends? Because that's what friends do. They intervene on your behalf on that regard. All right. Let's keep on going down the lane and let's see what else we have right here in our scripture. Okay. If you go a little bit further, it says, for he took his life in his hands when he attacked the Philistine, and the Lord brought about a great victory for all Israel. You saw it and rejoiced. Why then will you sin against an innocent person by killing David without cause? Okay, so again, you look at what Jonathan is talking about. He's trying to be very logical and reasonable to his dad. Reasonableness and logicness is very good when it comes to trying to do your best to make a case for somebody you care about, especially when there's an antagonist that person is dealing with. He took his life in his hands when he attacked the Philistine. So Jonathan is explaining to Saul what David did. David did some good things for this. He took his own life and he helped out by being a hero. These were enemies of Israel. So he did what he needed to do in order to keep these enemies from encroaching on Israel. And the Lord brought about a great victory, not for David, but for Israel, for Saul's kingdom, the one for which he has dominion over, the one that God has put him in charge of. Okay. And not only did he do it, but Jonathan makes it clear here. Look at this part right here. I want you to look at this part. I find this part to be of extreme interest. It says that you saw it. In other words, Jonathan is saying that I'm not telling you something as a third party. You had firsthand perspective of what happened. You saw it, and then you did something that you may not remember. You didn't see it as a negative thing, but you rejoiced. So after all those logical statements, he asked the same question. Why then will you sin against an innocent person by killing David without cause? And that's a key part of this thing now. He doesn't tell him why are you killing him. He says the crime is not the killing. Against an innocent person by killing David without cause. And you're sinning. You're doing something that is ungodly against somebody who has not done anything. Okay? And you're doing it with, now here's the key, doing it without cause. Okay? He couches it in the fact that, watch this, maybe killing is justified, but it's not justified here because it's going against God's immortal law in the most basic way. Innocence in that regard. So he puts it all out there. Jonathan puts it all out there. He intervenes with this guy. He intervenes clearly with this. That's the one thing about this. He's showing the true responsibilities of a friend in that regard, brothers and sisters. True responsibility for people that they care about. Okay, they go to bat for them. All right. Before we move on to this last exposition, I want to talk about this one line in the very part, when really not one line, but it's kind of a short little passage in this last part. It says, I want you to go. I'm going all the way back here to this part. It says, he, talking about Jonathan, he chose to stand for the right thing and did it even when it put him at odds with his father, literally the king of Israel. This is an absolute mark of a friend to God. God's friends can be trusted to choose to do the right thing, regardless of who that puts them at odds with. Okay? Now, I find that to be a tremendously powerful statement. Okay? Because it doesn't make a difference who you're at odds with. If you're going to be God's friend, you have to do the right thing regardless. All right? I mean, even when it comes to politics, you look at the political landscape nowadays and how everybody's trying to stick with their party, whether their party's right or wrong. You can't do that. That same disposition of what's right in God's sight needs to transcend political party lines, transcend familial lines, transcend every kind of line possible, because in God's sight, right is right and wrong is wrong. And friends have to stand up to what's right with other friends, just like they have to stand up to God, who's your best friend. Jesus is the best friend you have. You have to stand up for him and everything he has in the greatest way possible. All right. Let's move on to our very last exposition. All right. And this is exposition number 3. Well, there might be one more after this. I see a 6 or 7. Hold on a second. Looks like we got a little bit more. Move on to the third exposition. Resolution and restoration. Of Jonathan. Saul swore, as the Lord lives, he shall not be put to death. So Jonathan called David and related all these things to him. Jonathan then brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as before. Okay, so here's what happened. Saul heeded the voice of Jonathan. Saul swore, as the Lord lives, he shall not be put to death. Okay, so this is what Saul did. Watch this. This is significant now. What Saul did is he listened to his son. All right, and he swore. He didn't just say, he swore, I shall not put David to death. And he didn't just say it, but he said, as the Lord lives. So he did this before the Lord that put him as king of that kingdom. Okay. So what did Jonathan do in response? He took his father at his word. He said, Jonathan called David and related all these things to him. And Jonathan then brought, and this is the key, watch this. The two sides came together. Okay. And they didn't just come together, but Jonathan, who's putting his own neck on the line, brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as before. David and Saul, 2 headbutters. Saul didn't like David because he saw David as a threat. He brought them together. All right. That's what resolutions are, brothers and sisters. You bring people together. You bring people together, and it's just like in the classroom where I teach. When I teach my students, I tell them, make sure that you develop as a teacher the idea of conflict resolution. You got to be willing to come together and discuss things. Oftentimes, even when we have conflicts at our jobs, instead of going to the person and resolving it and showing the person their sins, we want to go to the administrator. We want to go to the chairman of the board. We want to go to the president instead of going through the chain of command, which starts with the 2 of you trying to come together and resolve these professions. And even with adults, instead of coming together and resolving things, we prefer to just molt and simmer, and hopefully things will tide over. Forgiveness will work, but that doesn't mean that you don't want to go to that person to try to restore things mano a mano. All right, and that's what Jonathan did. He did exactly what he should have done. He took David to Saul. Okay, he took David to Saul. He didn't allow Saul to go to David. He was being proactive. And that's what you often have to do with conflict resolution, is be proactive, everybody. All right, be proactive. Now, there's more to it than this, as you can see. There's the last couple of verses, as you can see. If you go over here, no, that looks like that's about it. I thought it went to verse number 9, but that's about it. All right, I'm surprised. All right. Look at what it says in the application review. Okay. Look at what it says here. In today's lesson, we encountered the bodacious wrath of King Saul as his jealousy and fear of David caused him to plot his execution. Okay. We also encounter the bold love of Jonathan, who intervened on his friend David's behalf. In Jonathan's intervention, we discovered what friendship in action looks like. Good, godly friendship warns friends of impending danger, plans for their welfare, speaks up and speaks well of friends, broadens our perspectives, chooses to do the right thing no matter the cost, and urges friends to stay away from sin. If you look at all those characteristics, those are all characteristics that Jonathan had for David. Okay. Now, the question is, are you going to have those characteristics? That's the question I have. Are you going to warn your friends of impending danger? Are you going to make sure that you try to help and plan for their welfare? Are you going to speak up and speak well in your friends? Because you want to make sure that you have as wide a perspective as you can when you're intervening. All right. And sometimes you got to put yourself out there. And that's okay. Because friends put themselves out there for friends because we love them. All right. Being a friend is not always going to be comfortable. You're going to have to make some hard decisions to stand up for people that you love. That's why this is a good intervention idea. All right. So again, I want to thank you for coming. Again, I'm Pastor Reginald Williams. I want to thank you so much for coming here and being part of our Bible study, Sunday Church School. I want to encourage you all the time to just come back every single Sunday at 8 o'clock a.m. Sorry for any technical issues that happens. Those things happen when you do a live broadcast. We'll just keep on rolling, as they say. When life hands you a lemon, you just make lemonade. So I do apologize for that. Again, find us on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. I encourage you all the time to always look out for the fact that we are going to have the word coming forward, and watch for it all the time. It should be coming on today at probably about 11 o'clock, maybe 12 o'clock today. But make sure that you just do the best you can to follow us. Again, we thank you so much for joining us, and you all have a wonderful and fantastic day.